The second highest scoring game in NBA history, second only to Wilt Chamberlain's 100-point game. 83.
It's a special moment. It's Wilt, me, then Kobe, which sounds crazy.
I don't even really know how to open this video. What the hell just happened? I can't remember being this befuddled, perplexed, awestruck when recording a video since the Luka Doncic trade, and the Luka Doncic trade is the most awestruck and befuddled I have ever been in my life reacting to some NBA news. This is less shocking, but it's almost just as shocking in a very different way. So, you probably can already tell from the thumbnail or whatever, or just being on the internet at all, but Bam Adebayo just scored 83 points against the Washington Wizards. Now, I don't like making videos on games that I have not watched myself. I watched the fourth quarter of this game. However, I believe he had near 60-ish at the time going into that quarter. And I watched what was probably the nastiest part of the game, which is much of the discourse immediately following this. And I will acknowledge that discourse, of course. By no means do I think this was the most quote unquote ethical game in the world. There are certainly going to be Kobe fans that are butthurt about the manner in which this record was broken. And if you ask me, yes, Kobe's 81 performance was absolutely more impressive. It was more efficient. It didn't require the NBA record for free throw attempts. But as wild as a lot of the circumstances that created this game were, 83 points, I'm still going to give you credit for doing that, especially from Bam Adebayo. I mean no disrespect when I say this, because Bam Adebayo is a very good NBA player, and he's been a lot better this season now that the three-point shot with him has become more of a reality and less of a theory. I don't know if it's 22 three-point attempts worthy good, but it was, that a substantial improvement. But Bam's not some high volume scorer, and I think that's fine. I don't think it was ever really meant to be. Bam has, there was a time where I had a higher expectation for the ceiling of Bam Adebayo, but eventually I came to realize that Bam is probably just destined to be like an 18 to 20 point per game scorer. And hey, he's still a winning player, and he brings more impact on the defensive end of the floor while being a good offensive player. And his ball handling and his playmaking is also really excellent out of the center position. He can mix it up in the mid range pretty well. He's okay finishing at the basket, very athletic, good lob target. And then, as I mentioned, he had recently added the three-point shot. Bam Adebayo is not a bad offensive player in any shape or form. However, I could probably put a list together right now of players that I would assume more likely to have a 70-point game in an 83-point game in this case. Like, we've seen some 70-point games in recent years, but it's been from people where it made sense to see those games from, like Joel Embiid, Luka Doncic, and Damian Lillard, some of the best scorers of their generation. Donovan Mitchell as well. Like that. These are some of the best, most prolific bucket getters, guys who have averaged 30 points per game in a season before. I don't even know if Bam has officially averaged 20 before. I know he always flirts with it. But yeah, he's averaged 20 points per game one time, which was in the 2023 season. There's absolutely 30 guys. Almost every NBA team's number one scorer, I would predict to be more likely to drop 83. I would have guessed Tyler Hero more likely to drop 83. Maybe not Norman Powell, but honestly, you could make a case for Norman Powell being more likely. I mean, Bam Adebayo this season is probably third in points per game. He might be second. Yeah, he's third in points per game. Tyler Hero and Tyler Hero and Norman Powell average 22. He averages 19. And right now, that number is obviously about to change pretty substantially. I'm actually curious how much his points per game number will jump up after this, along with all of his other stats. But Andrew Wiggins averages 16. Jaime Jaquez averages 15. Jaime Jaquez averages 15. So, like, it's not even that far. He's not even like, if we're talking about field goal attempts, he takes 3 more per game than Wiggins and Jaquez. Like, it's not even like he's just crazy high up on the shot chart. So yeah, this is baffling. But the circumstances of what caused it, to my understanding, I will probably put out a follow-up video to this where I am, uh, watching the game in the context of it. I do wanna watch the highlights of this game with you guys and get kind of my authentic, immediate reaction to it. But highlights are only one part of the game, and seeing how this happens within the context will definitely inform that opinion. So take my opinion on this at with a grain of salt. Again, I never like to make videos on some shit that I have not watched. But this is a rare instance that calls for it. Like I remember when Joel Embiid had 71 or whatever. I didn't make a video until I watched the highlights, and that's obviously more, less insane. But basically, I need you to break Kobe's scoring record if I'm going to just go based on what happened immediately, because like this is a moment that needs to be captured, even if it's not an ideal moment in the way that a lot of people would suggest. So I actually do not currently have access to the second half of the highlights. I'm going to watch the first half here. Um, and then we'll see if the NBA posts the second half after. But with that said, here we go. Baseline on Sar. Yep, that's that short little fadeaway that I thought he might take there. That is a signature shot of his, sometimes in a way that is a little frustrating. Another part that informs it, not just the context of the fouls, but also, of course, the extent of shots that he was missing. Starts out with the team's first 5 points, then the team's first 7 points. There's that ball handling ability that I mentioned earlier coming into play. Corner 3 available right here. That's going to drop. He had 31 points in the first quarter and had 43 overall in the first half. Another corner 3. Nope, he's going to fake it and drive inside with the slam. That was gorgeous. That, once again, that ball handling coming into play. Like, there was a time where I really did think that Bam Adebayo could become a 25 point per game score. I mean, shit, maybe this is what unlocks it. All right, I don't need 8 replays of the same thing. I appreciate it. Another corner 3. Yeah, he does. I do feel like he is a better corner 3-point shooter. I don't know if the stats back that up, but the eye test from games this year from the Heat certainly does. I do really like his shot form. I think it's a pretty damn excellent big man jump shot. Like, it still feels like a big man jumper, but it's like modernized, if you know what I mean. Definitely the type of jumper that I would put on my build in 2K with a big man. More drive action there. Tristan Vukcevic does not have any kind of foot speed to keep up with that. Yeah, a lot of ball handling from Bam in that one. Oh my God, that pull up 3 is filthy. That was a heat check and then some. You love a good heat check. Yeah, he can't believe that shit. He's going to get the stop on defense. Man, y'all really just highlighted a block in the middle of the scoring. I respect it. That's not really what I'm here for, but sure. Pump fake on Sar, going to set up the left-handed hook. That was really, really good footwork on that spin move, completely losing Sar. This is also not including how bullshit or not bullshit his free throw attempts are, him actually getting to the line. So again, there will probably be a follow-up video where I get the full context of the game in mind. God, this is some more filthy ball handling right here from Bam. Like, I know the free throw attempts are crazy. I know the field goal and 3-point attempts are absolutely crazy. But he is mixing dudes up in these highlights. There are some damn good moves in the midst of all of this, which I guess is not that surprising if you're going to drop 83. There's got to be some pretty sick plays in there somewhere, surely. Not the way NBA Twitter's been talking about it. And one on the drive right there, high off of the glass. And that's what gets him to 43. Yeah, so Bam going into the fourth, I believe. Yeah, going into the fourth, has 62 points. Corner 3, that's going to drop. It is almost all of these threes are from the corner. I feel like he's hit 2 non-corner threes. Reaching, not ideal. See, the problem is, like, especially when Sar isn't in the game, the Wizards just don't have any kind of rim protection, nor do they have particularly good perimeter bigs. So, like, they can't keep up with him on the perimeter, and they can't really stop him at the basket. So there's not a lot that can be done from that point. And, like, a lot of people complain about the officiating. The fourth quarter is when I actually tuned in, and, like, The calls that happened from there, basically all of them I felt were fairly legitimate. I'm not saying there were ones that were like, "Oh yeah, you gotta call that," but I don't think that they were egregious calls that the refs were just trying to spoon feed him to get to that scoring figure. So yeah, at that point he gets 81, and there was a part of me that thought that he might do the, "No, I'm gonna respect Kobe and not do that," but no, he got fouled again. They were in the bonus, for a while, so, like, some of the fouls were not shooting fouls, but they fouled him anyways. That's why the whole time the Heat were giving Bam the ball, like, off of the inbound, like, forcing him to take the ball all the way up the floor, because it's like, if you guys foul him, well, that's how the bonus works. At the free throw line, Bam Adebayo, 83 points. So, Bam Adebayo in this game, 83 points, obviously, 43 free throws, and made 36, which is an NBA record in both categories. Dwight Howard with 39 free throw attempts, as well as Shaquille O'Neal, is the NBA record, or at least it was. He shot 84% on those, so that's a pretty damn good percentage. He also launched 22 three-pointers, and I wanna say, like, 5 of those were at the very end of the game as he was desperately trying to get at that point. So, like, he definitely tanked his stats a little bit by trying to get to that number. Obviously, it was primarily free throws who got them to that figure by the end. However, he launched a couple of threes, a couple of forced shots in there just because he was like, shit, I can get that and figure, I'm going for it. So 43 free throw attempts, 43 field goal attempts, 22 three-point attempts. I'm actually very curious what the true shooting percentage on that is. It's 67% true shooting. I mean, he's at 8% better than average. Like, ultimately still efficient, as crazy as those stats are. But just to talk about the controversy that is already brewing about this, that I'm sure there will be much discourse about immediately. Um, was there definitely a very strong conceded effort to get Bam Adebayo over the 83-point line or over the 81-point line? Absolutely, there was. However, I didn't really feel like that. I don't know. It didn't really feel like that until like the second half of the fourth quarter. And at that point, it's like, yeah, the game's a blowout and they're still keeping him in and they're playing the rest of the scrubs otherwise. Like, at that point, it was very clear. But overall, I just absolutely, does it sour the quality of the game, the quality of the experience? Yeah, I can't pretend like it doesn't have a negative effect with it. But I also am far from like trying to delegitimize or take this away or say that it does not is a completely bullshit. It's not bullshit. Is it the coolest way that a person could have broken Kobe's record? No. In no way, shape, or form is that the case. But it is still cool. My big philosophy when it comes to the NBA is I'm not a gatekeeper about things. I don't argue for I don't want Michael Jordan and LeBron to remain the only two people who are really in the GOAT conversation, at least by my personal perspective. Like, I want Wemby to become the GOAT. When Luca came into the league, I wanted Luca to become the GOAT. Like, I want the best possible. I think the crazy thing happening is a good thing. And even if the crazy thing can desensitize you from how crazy that shit is, that can happen, that can be a problem, but, like, ultimately, I'm in favor of whatever is interesting, and I'll tell you what, no matter what you have to say about this game, it's interesting. That is a fair word. I'd say that's an objective word to use for Bam Adebayo having 83 points. Again, Bam Adebayo is not a bad scorer by any means. He's a top 50 scorer in the NBA, but I figure would need to be at least a top 20 scorer in the NBA to reach that figure. How many guys average more points per game in the NBA right now? I'm actually curious. Leaders, points per game. So Bam, where you are. Bam is 38th in the NBA in points per game. Or at least he was. Again, his numbers are going to go up after this. I don't know by how much, probably enough to just move him up a few spots, but like Nikhil Alexander Walker scores more points on average than Bam Adebayo. Dylan Brooks scores more. Shaden Sharp scores more. Norman Powell scores more. Like, absolutely bonkers. That Brandon Miller scores more. Şengün scores more. Cat scores more, even though his numbers this year have been awful. Cooper Flagg scores more. What a Con Knipple. There are two rookies who score the ball more than Bam Adebayo, and he just had 83. Two really good fucking rookies, to be fair. But yeah, that's my thoughts. What the hell? What in God's name? I cannot believe that this happened. Bye.